Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our regular podcast, Knowledge Empowers. As always, with you is me, Kat. 안녕하세요. Then we have Baruch.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we have Kolaj.
Dobre ráno, dobre ráno, dobre ráno. Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome.
We ask Mr. Kolaj or Kolak, or sometimes we have fun of how people pronounce his nickname in many different variants. Kolak is my probably the favorite so far. Kolaj prepared for us a topic because when we had the session with Bill Baker, who was telling us about storytelling, Kolaj mentioned two words: hero's journey. And me and Baruch were like, wait a minute, what? What does that mean? What's behind? Or is there anything behind? And these two gentlemen were like, oh yeah, and then da-da-da. And I was like, okay. So, Kolaj, stage is yours.
Well, there is a lot behind the hero's journey, but we always need to start from the beginning. And do you have any fairy tale in mind or story of yours which you can recall?
Any kind?
Any kind, just
Any kind.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, great example. Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Any other stories? Movies.
Snow White.
Snow White. Okay, great. So there are some like basic stories or the ancient stories, almost ancient, yeah, and some new ones. And there was this person who was doing some sort of analysis of these stories, and there wasn't just one; there were multiple of those, and each of those found something special when it comes to the stories. And before we get to the hero's journey, I would like to mention Christopher Booker and his book called The 7 Basic Plots. So this guy went through the stories like Snow White and analyzed their story plot. So he was looking on the story behind that, how it's developing, and how it ends. And based on that, he discovered that the stories have about 7 basic plots where you can put all of these stories around. Of course, there is criticism as usual. Like my story is special and it doesn't fit any category, or that it's basically 2 or 3 categories together or something like that. We are gonna avoid this for the moment, and we are gonna talk about these plots, basic plots altogether, so that you know how it actually is developed. So the 7 basic plots come in this way. So the first one is overcoming the monster. Then there is Rex to Riches, the quest, voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, tragedy, haha, and the rebirth. So now I will be reading, or I will be saying a few stories, and I would like you to guess which of these plots it is, and based on that, I will explain a bit more about the plot twist. Okay, so let's start with stories such as Dracula, The War of Worlds, or Star Wars. Which of these
Star
7
Wars,
it would be?
Oh.
Overcoming the monster.
No. Yes.
What would you?
There's no other. I wanted to say, overcoming the monster really seems like, for example, in case of Darth Vader, he's like overcoming himself, but not successfully, really.
Actually, it's probably specific, like Star Wars, the basic trilogy. The starting trilogy is mostly about Luke Skywalker, and he's overcoming a monster. So yeah, it's overcoming the monster. It's usually where the protagonist, our hero in this story, needs to defeat either a beast or some other antagonist, so some villain or some other evil, and actually then return back to homeland, or return back or create a safety. Okay, so that's the overcoming the monster. What about the Iliad, Lord of the Rings, Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Which of these 7 plots these could be?
The quest.
Exactly.
would-
Yeah. Katka, sorry. Dobre.
No, I thought it's the
Voyage and Return.
Voyage and Return.
Okay. It's close. Iliad is the quest. The Odyssey, I'm now spoiling ahead, but Odyssey is exactly the voyage and return. But yeah, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's about the quest where the group needs to acquire an object from certain location. There are maybe some hindrances and obstacles on the way, which they need to overcome, some temptation. But it's basically that we are trying to get somewhere to collect something and get it done. And when it comes to Voyage and Return, yeah, the Odyssey is there, Peter Pan, Gulliver's Travels, all of these are about the travel itself. So going somewhere, overcoming the threats on the way directly, so that you can get to this unique location and get the experience. That's the difference between the quest and the voyage. It's most the quest is about getting an item or an object, while the voyage is about the experience mostly.
So Hobbit is then Voyage and
Yes, Hobbit is voyage.
yeah,
Voyage.
because he goes to travel and experience.
Yeah, exactly. While the Lord of the Rings is something else.
Yeah.
But they also travel.
They also travel.
Yeah, but they fight like a monster. But whereas Hobbit is really about the experience. He's traveling,
experience
going
plus
further.
in the Lord of the Rings they need to get rid of the ring. So that's why it's the quest.
But
We
Hobbit
had this
needs to
task
get
to
that jewel thing.
For him, he does, but it's more about the experience, you know. Like,
Okay.
yeah. At least that's what the author of the book says about it.
Okay. Let's trust him.
Yep. Then we have Cinderella, Aladdin, The Ugly Duckling. Which of these 7 plots could it be?
Rex to riches.
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Okay, almost there. Let's go with cats. Such a choice right now. Yeah, it's Rex to Riches, where the person becomes rich really quickly, then loses it and gains it again for redemption. So that's where Aladdin, for example, you know, he became famous thanks to Jinn. Then he loses it because there is this evil guy, and at the end he regains the trust of the princess of the king again and becomes actually the prince. So that's and becomes a better person as a result. So that's the thing when it comes to Rex to Riches. And Rebirth wasn't exactly that. It's close to that, but it's, for example,
Harry Potter.
Nah, Harry Potter is not that. Harry Potter could be multiple of those. Depends on the part you are watching, I guess. Usually, it's somewhere between the quest and overcoming the monster, because you know he needs to slay Voldemort or kill Voldemort. But again, during the 7 books, he needs to collect, for example, the Horcruxes. So again, you can see how it actually these plots are somehow melted together.
Mixed.
Yeah, mixed together. When it comes to Rebirth, the Beauty and the Beast, Pride and Prejudice, the Frog Prince, these are the Rebirth stories where one of the heroes is somehow at the beginning already influenced by evil forces or by something, and he needs to get through the redemption or become a better individual. And now we are missing already only 2 categories. So, you know, it's getting closer and closer to the end. Where would you put, for example, the stories like Macbeth or The Picture of the Dorian Gray, Hamilton?
I don't know any of these.
Tragedy.
Tragedy. Okay. You don't know any of these?
No, I don't like tragedies.
Shakespeare.
Macbeth,
like tragedies.
Shakespeare. Yeah, all of those are tragedies. So you know there are some mistakes done on the way, and at the end, the story ends with a death, basically.
It's time for me to take Baruch more to the theater.
Yeah. Or just like, you know, you can still watch them. Macbeth, I think it was. I believe those are done like movies. So Dorian Gray
but it's
is
better to watch it in theater. It's
you know, the picture of the Dorian Gray great movie. Great Gatsby. You can watch DiCaprio basically. So,
Great Gatsby is a tragedy?
yep, he dies at the end.
Oh, really? I watched it and I don't know.
Spoilers! Spoiler
Spoilers
alert!
alert. Oh, damn. I haven't watched Hamilton, so that's one of those which I haven't watched. Okay, and the
Give us
last
a comedy. Give us a comedy.
comedy, Four Weddings and a Funeral. Not sure if you've seen that,
Mm-hmm.
heard about it. Big Lebowski.
Mm.
Yeah, so those are the comedies, so there is some fun behind it, like Bridget Jones' Diary, fun elements, but again, there is some obstacles on the way, and again, some happy ending and good conclusion at the end. The thing is that the conflict is more about confusion and fun elements. It's not death. And there is one thing which binds all these 7 plots together.
And that is...
What that is, yeah.
Oh, well, those are the 2 words Kat said at the beginning. So
Hero's Journey.
Yep. So although, again, same criticism as before, those 7 plots and Joseph Campbell with his hero's journey, they came up with a structure of a story which may not suit all the stories, which may cause that not all the stories fit into that one specific category because there are slight differences. But I think that the idea behind it is really beautiful. Let me explain why. So the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell is a monomyth, and he says that all the stories consist of one basic story, one basic plot twist or plot line, throughout which the hero experiences and explores the world and actually finds some treasure at the end and becomes better self. He wrote this into 17 steps, how the story twists, but all of these are split into 3 categories, and it's the usual drama stuff, like the beginning, the main meat, the main story, and the conclusion. And in this case, it's called the departure, the initiation, and the return. Let's talk about all these parts, all these 3 parts, not those 17 steps, because going a lot in depth would maybe not make sense. But from the meta perspective, it would give you much better influence or overview of what is happening behind it. So first is the departure. Usually departure starts that, you have some hero, you probably meet him or her at the beginning, and you see how they are living comfortably, or maybe not really comfortably, but they've reached certain status quo that they are somehow satisfied, that they are happy where they are because everything is aligned, they know what to do. But then comes a moment of sort of revelation, or something impacts them, and suddenly a whole new world opens. In Harry Potter, for example, it was the list from the Hogwarts. From Lord of the Rings, it was Gandalf's visit, actually, and also Bilbo's leave from the Shire, where he left the ring to Frodo. Mm-hmm. Those are the departure parts, where there is some element which comes to your life and changes the perspective on things.
It's like a spoon in a coffee and you mix it.
Yeah, it's the spark. It's the spark. Yeah, it's the spark which does it. It could be that in other stories, for example, in Snow White, it was that you've got stepmother, that's a spark, and stepmother becomes a new element in your life. Mm-hmm. Those are the sparks which are there. And the departure is like, okay, so suddenly I'm having this, I have this calling, and now it's up to me whether I want to go for the journey, whether I want to follow the calling or not. I can decide to follow, or I can stay in my comfort zone. I can pretend that nothing is happening, or that I can get rid of it and stay in my comfort zone. Or I can go outside of my comfort zone and go for the journey. And that's I think the beautiful example is in the Lord of the Rings, in the Fellowship of the Ring, where Frodo comes with Sam at the edge of the Shire, at the edge of the field. Do you know what they are saying or how it looks like?
I think it was Sam who said, "I've never been further than this path. Like, if I make one step more, that's the furthest I ever went."
And yeah, that's the beautiful line. That's the beautiful part where you see that they are following the calling and they are up for it and they are accepting the challenge. They are accepting the journey and they are going for this hero journey. And from that, it goes to the other part, to the second part, the initiation, where you have the trial and the quest, where you have this descent into the chaos, into the battles, into struggles of daily life, or into the struggles of our heroes. For example, in Star Wars case, it was Luke's training with Yoda, with some of the fights, travels across the galaxies. With Harry Potter, it was the training at the school, at the university, the challenges. Voldemort was there at certain parts of the books. And this is where our hero or ourselves, we need to overcome certain obstacles or actually evil or some other barriers. And sometimes it results that we reach the death, and not just the physical death here, but also the metaphorical death, that we are so drained out of the energy that we are not unable to move. And that's when the hope starts. And the hope is actually already part of the return, where we slain the dragon and we receive the treasures and we are coming home. Either it was the return of from the journey in the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings, after they dropped the ring, all these happy memories, like, oh, we made it. We've got to it. We've gained this new experience. We've gained these treasures. That's where we actually achieve the new status.
How do you use this information? I'm waiting for this.
I use it for storytelling, for example, when I need to write a message, usually give some intro and take the people on the journey with me. Maybe some opening questions, like, oh, have you heard about this? This is the calling, I explain that, what they can do, what are the obstacles there, and what they are receiving at the end, like, go for this workshop, and at the end, you will get these skills. That's your treasure. You will need to overcome these. We will be working in workout groups. We'll be doing, I don't know, now I'm making it up, feedbacks and writing feedbacks, and we will do psychodrama, and all this stuff. So that's the scary part, where you need to overcome yourself and go outside of your comfort zone. And at the end, you will receive the skills.
Mm-hmm. Or you said you at the end you might get the treasure. Yeah. But treasure can be like you gain new experience and it changed you as a person. And it gets me to the Lord of the Ring, where you have Frodo and you have Sam, and it changed Frodo so much, right? Mentally, he had to leave Shire to gain maybe some stability or something. It changed him dramatically. And Sam grew his maturity level, right? Mm-hmm. So, and we are heroes of our own stories, right? So can we apply some of those into our own stories?
Not just that you are applying that to your stories. That's the other thing which I would like to mention. And it's really similar to the change process itself. Like, you have a calling, a new process comes, or you are dissatisfied at your work, or you have baby coming.
Like, why would you mention it? Yeah.
Those are the callings which are there, and you can decide whether you're gonna accept the journey or not. And if you decide,
imagine collage, Lenka, you staying by yourself. Bye.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Poor Lenka.
And you accept the journey and you go. There will be obstacles. There might be some villain. There might be some evil. There might be some just the beast or dragon to slay, or just obstacles. in terms of your own personal trials and stories that you need to endure, stress or late working hours or too much of baby cry, that can happen. But at
or
the end,
will happen at least.
or will happen, yeah. Well, we will see. We will see how much. Hopefully, he's like me. I didn't cry. Yeah, and at the end, you will receive the treasure, the experience, new job, or the adult person who can continue your message, or new car, new house, new apartment. Depends what the story is about, because it's your story. You are the author of the story, so you make the decisions here.
Wow. But I still am thinking it's like so hard written in my memory when Frodo is leaving the Shire, like how much it changed him. Like all of those obstacles they had to go through, how much he suffered, and really it's like a different Frodo came at the end out of the whole story.
Yeah.
And sometimes even in our own lives, really based on the experiences, what we see or we go through, it may change us radically, that sometimes even our own family just can't recognize us because it just changes dramatically. And we start a total brand new journey from that point. AKA, we can still change.
We can. It's up
We
to us
can.
to accept the challenge, the calling.
So, since we are trying to help people in corporations, so how would they use this theory in practice?
Yeah, good question. And I would connect it to what I said before. Imagine that you are preparing a workshop for a training. Either it's a new process, or it's a new tool, or it's just a soft skill, training. For example, the communication. I will pick that one because that's closest to my heart. And you want to present or get the hook for people, like come to this workshop. You can say like, hey, come and join, and this is a communication workshop. You will learn how to communicate. That's one of the options. Or you can use this proto-myth, and you can start the hook differently. You can start it with this hero's journey in mind and telling people, like, creating this calling for them. Create a calling in terms of, have you ever had a wrongly accepted feedback from your colleague? Or, for example, have you had a conflict in your team which you haven't resolved really effectively? I can help you to improve it. That's the calling. Then you put there the struggles. During the session, we will do this training, and specifically like, okay, we will have a role play where we will practice conflict management. We will have a negotiation activity. We'll have, I don't know what. Those are the obstacles the person needs to come and overcome. And you will finish the introduction of the workshop by, at the end, you will receive, or at the end of this workshop, you will know how to overcome conflict effectively in your team the next time it happens. That's the treasure. It's one of the ways how to use the hero's journey. The other part is to know that, for example, when we're implementing new processes, the usual calling will be that, hey, guys, this is the new process we are using from now on. That's fine. But you know that there will be probably obstacles and chaos during the part of implementing a new process, and you can prepare for that. That's the change, how it goes. You have the calling, the new process is coming, and we can prepare in terms of what are the obstacles which will be coming in, so we can do the risk analysis and be mindful about this. And at the end, we can plan that, okay, so if we manage this process, what is the reward for us at the end? If we are now implementing the process and we want to do it effectively, let's have some, and that's part of the agile culture as well, have the celebration at the end, let's have celebration after two week sprint or after 7 sprints, there's the celebration part in agile. That's again the hero's journey. You have the reward at the end. Another example could be from your personal perspective, what is my calling? What are my callings right now in my life? What are the beasts I need to slay, and what is it there for me at the end?
I would want to hear that.
So what are your callings, Baruch, right now?
My calling right now is to succeed in my current job role, and by learning as much as possible and trying to, achieve, let's say, a good expertise level where I feel confident about doing my job, and maybe eventually being a mentor to someone else.
Okay. So now I would be questioning whether it's already the process or calling, because calling is usually that knock on the doors, which opens the possibilities. You are already hired at the job. So I would say that becoming a good team member is already part of the initiation part of the second part.
Okay.
Now you need to slay. Now you need to learn and slay the dragons, or overcome the obstacles. Basically,
I do need to. Yeah, I do need to slay the
that's
dragons.
The thing, to get to the new status quo. But becoming a mentor, that could be a thing. Like I received this email where somebody asked me to become their mentor. That's the calling, and you decide whether you accept this calling or not. Like I want to avoid it altogether, or I'm gonna accept this challenge, and that means that I'm gonna then have the meetings, schedule out things up, or whatever.
Okay, that's much more clear. Thank you, Coach.
It works.
Now I'm gonna end it with we are the heroes of our own story. Da 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 da! And with that, I'm gonna say Sugasha Smida.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Majte se. Pekný deň. Bye, bye, bye.
This podcast represents our own opinions, experience, and our own ideas. We do not represent any official statement from our employers, and this is not their official channel representing the company.